What's going on, everybody? My name is Dallin57, and I'm coming at you with another epic video. One of the cornerstones of Diablo is the ability to trade with other people in a sort of loose economy. Unfortunately, ever since the rise and fall of the real money auction house in Diablo 3, Blizzard has been reluctant to tackle the issue of providing an in-game space for players to trade their items. Today, I want to discuss why I think that it's time for the Diablo auction house to make a comeback. Before we can talk about why the auction house should come back, we should probably cover why the auction house failed in the first place in Diablo 3. The original idea of the real money auction house in Diablo was to help players with a convenient way to trade with each other while also curbing the appeal of using a third-party RMT site. Blizzard inherently has no control over these third-party player experiences, so this was kind of their attempt to increase security and help people from getting scammed, while also increasing usability for the players in-game. While this was a good idea in theory, there were a couple of glaring issues that I'd like to go over. The first issue being that at the inception of the game, there was a time period where a difficulty called Inferno mode existed. This mode was designed to be a top-end challenge mode where only the most maxed out, geared players would go to continue their journey. The problem was that a lot of the true top-tier items were located in Acts 3 and 4 of Inferno. This led players, whether they were right or wrong, to feel as though the real money auction house was basically a requirement to really get the most out of the game, as you could buy those best in slot items with real money and get a fast track to that end game. The second, and probably biggest issue in my opinion, is that they tried to incorporate real money into the equation. I understand that the intention was to keep RMT in-house, but if you build it, they will come, so to speak. Meaning the exploiters and the RMT people and the bots and all that stuff. RMT communities will do whatever it takes to find any exploit they can to maximize their profits, regardless of its effect on the in-game economy for your average, Diablo Andy just chilling, playing the game. The gold duping inflation in Diablo 3, for instance, was so bad that the Diablo team had to go in and squash the gold values to a relative tenth of what they were when things started out. They did this mostly to prevent as many issues as they could in the interim between when the game released and when Reaper of Souls released, to have like a replacement solution for the auction house. So, wasn't great. Any time you bring real money into anything, it's gonna fall to shit like that. So, and thirdly, the system of using real money to purchase in-game items kind of undermined the core gameplay loop of Diablo 3 in general, i.e. kill monsters, get loot. You could, in theory, just pay real money for all the best loot in the game, then smash the content right back and get all of the same gear again. And what do you do with that gear? You put it back on the auction house and try to make your money back. Usually in vain, because of the amount of exploiters and people who literally played Diablo 3 like it was their job. There were people who made hundreds of thousands of dollars this way, and it was hard to not want to get on the bandwagon. I mean, shit, if I could play Diablo and make a substantial income, I'd do it in a heartbeat. I think even when the game first came out, I tried, but it was kind of like involved and you couldn't keep up with the RMT people, but I digress. With the release of Reaper of Souls and Itemization 2.0, they essentially retconned the idea of having effective trading in that game, essentially turning their backs on one of their biggest failures besides...
Do you guys not have phones?
Yeah, you guys all have phones, right?
So that begs the question, what makes D4 any different? Wouldn't you just have the same issues? In my opinion, not really. Not if it's executed correctly, that is. With the Loot Reborn ultimatum in Season 4, itemization is in a state where there is a balance between the items that are available for trade versus their like relative worth. Breaking down the ins and outs of Loot Reborn is for another video because there's a lot that goes into it, but I'll basically simplify the main points as best I can here. So, legendary affixes are random. Legendary items can roll up to 3 greater affixes, which is kind of like a crit on an affix in a way. Most importantly, that 3 greater affix legendary, let's say you did get a 3 greater affix legendary, it can still brick when you use the tempering and masterworking system. So you can straight up roll the wrong temper on that item and run out of tempering rerolls. Or your masterworking has like another effective crit every 4 levels. You can get a crit on the wrong ability. So there's that. And then you also have uniques, which can be traded. They can also roll greater affixes, and they can also essentially brick with masterworking. So every piece of gear that you get is kind of like a lottery ticket in the current state of D4. The difference in quality is the difference between whether or not you'll still get any use out of the item at all if it bricks when masterworking or tempering. The likelihood that you're going to get a winning ticket, so to speak, is low enough that you could maintain a thriving economy for gear trading quite easily. Gear with greater affixes are always going to be in demand because I'm not a damn genie and I can't find a good temper sword to save my life. So there's that. Bossing materials are in a similar spot. Acquiring boss materials and trading them does not guarantee the player anything. It gives them a chance to have something, which is always going to have inherent value. Kind of like how we always need food to survive, people are always going to need chances to roll for the thing they actually want, which has all of the other randomizations that I already mentioned, if they're not trying to just straight up buy it. If you were to just give us a place where we could filter items directly and purchase them from other players, like in the WoW auction house, it won't give the same effect as the auction house in D3, because in D3 there was no variable. If you bought the furnace with the right stats, you had the furnace. GG, you're done. Not to mention, if you set the auction house to the gold standard, you keep the core gameplay loop intact. Instead of, aw damn, I just ran Nightmare Dungeons for 2 years and all I got was a shitty t-shirt. You say, alright, that was unlucky, but I have a few hundred mil that I can spend on stuff to have a chance to get stronger and go again. So now is the time where we address the elephant in the room. RMT. This is a very divisive topic, so I know that no matter what I say, people are going to take some sort of issue with it, but it's fine, honestly, because I don't think enough people talk about RMT realistically in the current landscape, at least not outwardly. RMT, or real money trading, if you're not familiar with that, is always going to exist in any game where one player can give another player something. Whether it's a service like boosting or actual items and currency, it will always exist. There's RMT in WoW, and that's a huge IP with hundreds of thousands of daily users. Sure, it's bannable, but the people who run these RMT rings deal in digital MacGuffins, in digital nothings, right? They can just get them again and spin up another virtual machine and VPN and go again. There's not a huge loss. Not to mention, a lot of these people who run RMT rings, they have backups upon backups of characters and accounts, and it's all factored into their operating cost, right? So it doesn't matter. It's always going to be a thing. So instead of fighting it, which, don't get me wrong, you should have bans and, you know, security practices in place for RMT. But instead of fighting it by not making a good system, in my opinion, is wrong. So, should the auction house come back to D4? In my opinion, yes, absolutely. Trading in general for this game is disjointed and hosted in random Discord servers or dodgy websites as it is, and giving players a place to safely trade in-game without having to sit there for hours in trade chat hoping someone needs exactly what you have right then is strictly a good thing, in my opinion. For all of the RMT stands out there, your RMT isn't going away. It will always be there. You'll just be playing a game that has an even more healthy economy with more data points to min-max. In fact, I think it would curb some of the issues that are still existing with the loot system that I would like to talk about in another video. This would give more people more chances to roll more items, and to me, that is just a good thing. So, if you like my style of content, consider hitting the subscribe button. I'm currently working toward my goal of 500 subscribers, and there's plenty of cool stuff to come. I kind of just make conversational videos like this about whatever I want to talk about. So, as far as this video, let me know your thoughts too. I'm curious to know a consensus surrounding this topic. I personally don't think Blizzard would touch this with a 10-foot pole after the real money auction house fiasco, but who knows? I don't. This has been Diamond 57, and I hope you have a good day.